Hello, welcome back to another segment of Community Helper Highlight, where we talk about the services that are here to provide for the people who live in northern Chautauqua County. We're going to be joined today by the Chautauqua Blind Association and hear all about the great services that they're providing to our friends and community neighbors here around the shores of Lake Erie. But before I introduce my guest, there are a couple United Way highlights that we wanted to be able to talk about today. Very important things that are happening in our office to again help people that are here in the city of Dunkirk and beyond. We still have a whole lot of coats in my office. We are going to be packing the coats away for this season sometime in February, but from now until the end of February, if you're out there and you know a family, a kiddo, a neighbor, anybody in need of a warm winter jacket now that the coldest winter weather is upon us, please send them down to the United Way office. We have every size you can imagine. We have about 150 coats that are in stock right now that are just waiting to find bodies that they can help out for the rest of our winter. So please send them our way if you know somebody out there who needs it. And also very, very important for the United Way, it is tax season. So the VITA program, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, is in full swing. So we are providing free tax preparation to anybody in our area who makes less than $55,000 a year. You can make an appointment for the VITA program simply by calling 211 on any cell phone or landline anywhere in Western New York, and those trained representatives will pick up the phone and they will talk to you about what's on the schedule and whether you can come to our office on Central Avenue, go over to the incubator and see the wonderful students from SUNY Fredonia, or visit one of the remote sites that we're going to be at in Westfield, Forestville, Silver Creek, and some other locations throughout the course of tax season. So free tax preparation services for anybody making less than $55,000 a year. Just call 211. Very happy today to be joined by a couple great folks. With me is Lisa Goodell, the Executive Director of the Chautauqua Blind Association, and Nick Kalifka, one of the wonderful young men who have taken advantage of the services that CBA offers and is doing pretty well. Thank you and welcome today.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming out. So, Chautauqua Blind Association, I mean, the name spells out a lot of what's going on there. Luckily, we don't have to work too hard on that. But you know, I don't think a lot of people think about Chautauqua Blind Association as being a service here in Chautauqua County. But can you tell us a little bit about maybe how long Chautauqua Blind has been serving our area?
I can. And you know, it does seem to be one of the best kept secrets around. People really don't know we've been here 98 years.
Wow. So you got a big anniversary coming up.
We do. We're getting very close to our 100th year. So we have been providing services. And the great thing about Chautauqua Blind, although our office is located in Jamestown, we provide services throughout the entire county. So staff travels throughout the county, every small area, large area, we go everywhere. Obviously, we don't want our clients driving to us. So by the nature of our clients, we do travel to everyone, and we go out to everyone throughout the county. So it's a great service.
Sure. 98 years. Holy cow.
98 years. It's amazing.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, the name obviously implies some of what you do, but there's a lot that I'm sure can fall under that umbrella, and there's probably a wide spectrum of services that CBA offers. So what is it that the Chautauqua Blind does?
Well, you know, we've got two main programs, both which are funded by our United Way dollars, and we couldn't do it without the support of United Ways. One of the programs that we offer is our Vision Rehabilitation Program. And the nice thing about this program is we provide services to people of any age that are visually impaired, legally blind, or blind. And we do services through that. We do orientation and mobility services, which is helping people learn their way around, whether it's indoors, outdoors, using public transportation, using a guide stick that Nick has with him today, using a guide dog. All of that falls under that orientation and mobility program. And then we also do vision rehabilitation along with that, which encompasses everything. Teaching people all kinds of adaptive skills so that they can continue doing everything that they want to do, all of their activities and their hobbies, whether they're working or going to school. We teach all of those adaptive ways to continue doing all the activities that people want to do. And then that falls under the Vision Rehabilitation Program. So it's two sides to that program, but it encompasses everything that anybody could need to continue being active and safe in their community.
Sure. So, I mean, we talk about vision rehabilitation, and blindness is something that can happen in a lot of different ways. You can be born with it. It can be gradual. It can be sudden. I mean, do you work with people at different levels of the spectrum? And for those who maybe it is a gradual progression where maybe a total blindness will eventually occur, I mean, do you work with people to prepare them for that?
We do, actually. And, I think our youngest client to date has been about 9 months old. So we started working with them, and it's a little different than working with an older individual. A lot of that works with the parents. Getting the parents to agree with the therapist to let that child start to explore their environment. Your thought as a parent is to keep your child safe and put him in a corner, and Nick can contest to this.
I was going to say, my mom would be nodding her head right now.
I'm sure. So that's a part of it. So it's much different working with a young child than working. But we work with a couple kids right now that are in the 10 to 14 year range that have a diagnosis of legal blindness, although still have a lot of residual sight. But we work with them now, teaching Braille and teaching, orienting and being mobile in their environment and getting around and how to learn the adaptive techniques. So if they do lose that sight eventually, they will be comfortable enough being able to do everything that they want to do. And then you work with older individuals that have lost their sight gradually due to macular degeneration, and they're different also. They're, my age or older, 60, 70, not really wanting to learn Braille at this point in their life. It's just not something that they're wanting to do. So then it goes right back to different adaptive techniques. How do you cook with no sight? How do you clean with no sight? How do you continue doing everything that you've done? How do you manage your finances? How do you pay your bills? How do you write your checks? So there's a lot of different aspects to it, and we work with all ages, and it's a little different for each age as to how you address it.
So Lisa, I mean, there's so much there to teach and work with, and I know you have a pretty broad clientele, but I mean, with given the scope of services and the number of folks that you serve, you must have a staff of 1,000 people.
I would like to say yes, but no, actually there's only 4 of us.
Wow.
There's myself. We have an administrative assistant who also does our vision screening, which is the other program that we do, and then I have 2 professional staff. So between those 2 professional staff, they do all of those services in the community. So they are out in the community major part of their day. They travel and do all of that. And they've got the degrees in vision rehabilitation and orientation and mobility and the experience. So only 2 of them. So we do all these services on a shoestring budget. Trying to put most of the funds that we get from United Way back into the programming so that we can help people. And they serve about 310 people a year just through that vision rehabilitation program.
That's so intense.
It is.
Kudos to the staff and the professionals you have in the field every day, and everybody on your team. I mean, that is just an impressive number to be reaching, given the scope of what you have to do and what you have to work with.
Well, it's so much fun. We get phone calls in the office, and people are so thankful for everything that the staff is able to give to them and do for them and encourage them to get up and do. And your thought is, you're losing your sight. I want to stay in my house and not put myself in a jeopardizing situation. But the staff is really good at encouraging, like Nick. They got him up and moving. Well, of course, I think Nick gets us up and moving.
Well, I wouldn't be doing it without you guys, so it goes both ways.
It does go both ways, yeah.
Nick, how long have you worked with Chautauqua Blind? How long have they been providing services?
I've been directly working with Chautauqua Blind Association for about 4 years. I'm 21, and the extent of my services really kind of got going when I was a junior and senior in high school. I received other services outside of CBA before that, but when I started working directly with CBA, it was around then.
Excellent. And they've been with you for a little while. We'll talk a little bit more about what they've done and some of the things that you've accomplished in a little bit. Lisa, I think parents in our area may be familiar with Chautauqua Blind, at least have seen the name, because you see an awful lot of kids throughout Chautauqua County. Can you talk a little bit about your vision screening program?
We do,
and how big that is?
The vision screening program is actually our fastest growing program. So I think in 2018 we screened about 3,200 kids. And our target population is a 3 to 6 year old. So what we're trying to do is to find children that have functional vision problems at that young age. And our goal through the screening is to find those kids and then get them referred to an eye care professional so that they can get a comprehensive eye exam and the treatment that they need. So, it can be something as simple as a nearsighted or farsighted where glasses will help. But I tell you, we have found over 70 cases of amblyopia in our county. And amblyopia is a much more serious vision problem that these kids can be having at that age. It really affects about 5% of the population, amblyopia. And amblyopia itself is a problem with communication, really, between the vision system and the brain. So one eye is seeing perfectly and the other eye is not. And it's sending two separate pictures back to the brain, and it's just the body, the brain can't work with that. So if it's not found at a young age and treated, the brain will eventually shut off the vision to the weaker eye because it can't handle the miscommunication. So our goal is to get these kids identified as they're young and get them treatment when they're young, because the treatment has a much better chance of being successful and bringing that weak eye back into a strong state. And what we find is these young kids, obviously they don't know they have a vision problem. They don't know they see different, than you or I or anybody around them. So they're not telling anybody they have a vision problem. And with some cases of amblyopia, if you have a functional amblyopia, the eyes are functioning correctly and they look normal, so the adults around these children don't understand, don't even know that they have a problem either. So, it goes both ways. If you have an organic amblyopia, then the eyes look different. So you can have a lazy eye that's kind of wandering and it's noticeable. You can have a strabismus where the eyes are crossed and it's noticeable. So those children are getting help, but the ones that have this functional problem where the eyes don't look different, they're not getting noticed until they get into school, and then they start having all kinds of problems and they fall behind year after year after year. And if it's not picked up eventually, nobody really knows why. And then we have kids dropping out of school and flunking out of school and having all kinds of problems. So our goal is to find it when they're young. Help them get the service they need, the attention they need, and the treatment they need.
And I think you hit on a good point, especially with getting into the school-aged population. The serious issues certainly will present problems, but even nearsightedness and farsightedness will present some issues in the classroom and barriers to a child, which will have indicators for later success.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. We find that a lot of kids with vision problems that are not diagnosed have a lot of the same activities and actions as kids that are labeled ADHD. So, if you can't read a board as a young child, you're either going to act out in the classroom or you're going to withdraw in the classroom. And it just doesn't lead to having a successful school career. So our goal is to help them all start on the best foot forward and find these vision problems before it becomes an issue.
So important.
It is so important. And the testing that we do is different than the vision testing the schools can do, because we've got a piece of technology that can find all of these problems. So the schools are testing for acuity, so they can let you know if your child is 20/20 or 20/60.
Letters on a chart.
Yes, on that chart, but then there's so many other problems can be affecting the kids that an acuity test will not find. So if we can come in and do this test, and the equipment we have takes a test in 10-15 seconds, and we can test anybody. They don't have to be able to speak. So we can test special education kids. We can test kids who don't speak the English language. We can test anybody from 6 months up. We can test anybody with this piece of equipment.
That's fantastic.
It is a great piece of technology that we are able to have. And so we can do this screening for free. We do it for absolutely free everywhere we go, partly because of our United Way funding. It supports the program.
Excellent. In that equipment, we're so lucky to have that here in the county and have access to that. So it's all wonderful news, and Chautauqua Blind making a big difference in our community.
We're working it.
Now, I mean, for folks that may be watching or have questions, how are clients referred in? Obviously through the school and the vision screening that may generate some leads, but for maybe somebody, maybe an older adult who's watching at home today, who's thinking that, maybe I could use some of those services. How do people access CBA?
We get a lot of our referrals from eye doctors. So if somebody goes to the eye doctor and then they finally have gotten to the point of vision loss where they're declared legally blind, eye doctors can refer them to us. We've got a lot of people that self-refer. A lot of family members call and friends call. My neighbor's having this trouble and they don't know what to do, so they can call us. So with our funding, we are able to go out and provide services to people that actually have reached the point where they're legally blind or blind. So, a lot of people ask, what does that mean, legally blind? And, by the state definition, the vision has to be 2200 in the better eye with best correction. So it's a pretty significant vision loss. And as they reach that point, then we can go out and provide services, and the vision rehabilitation services are all free. So if they haven't reached the point where they're legally blind, then we can bring them into our office and we can do a lot of training and talking with them there.
Good. And just to know that there's people out there who can help and that they're not alone. I mean, if they know that those issues are happening, then know that there's some support in their services and folks out there that are going to help keep you on track. That's important.
It's so important so that they know they're not alone.
Yeah.
The staff, any challenge that's thrown at them, I want to do this. We've got clients that do woodworking and, just an amazing array of activities and talents, and the staff will find ways to help them continue to do that. It's just amazing to me.
That's great. Meeting them where they're at and keeping their lifestyle going. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
So, Nick, you said you connected with CBA as a junior in high school.
I did.
How did you connect with CBA? How did you start receiving services from them?
I found out through my previous vision rehabilitation counselor, who was provided to me by the school system, and she was employed by BOCES, and she knew that I was going to need to have more services after I graduated from high school. So I was referred to CBA in my late high school years as a way to have continuing services from what I had already received when I was in high school, because those would end.
And it's got to help. I mean, if you linked with CBA as a junior in high school, I don't know if maybe the counselor was the same, but you were familiar with the agency. That's got to help that transition from high school to the next level for you.
Yeah.
To have some continuity there.
I got to know my counselor when I was, like I said, a junior, and I've had the same one ever since. And so, we've developed a great relationship where I'd say we're close friends as well as counselor and client. So, it's the sort of thing where I can text her on a whim if there's something that I need. It doesn't feel formal or anything. It's just, well, hey, I need assistance with something, and she's willing to help me as soon as possible. And so, yeah, there's been that stable anchor, if you will, from high school through my college experience till now.
That's great. So it's not just a service provider; it's a friend that you can just lean on for a little bit of help once in a while.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So you graduated from what high school did you go to?
I went to Sherman Central.
So Sherman, not too far from here. Red's Best is going to be opening pretty soon, so I'll be making my annual pilgrimage for pancakes.
Good stuff out there.
Yeah,
it's a good reason to visit out there. That's for sure.
So you graduated from Sherman, and then what have you gone on to do?
Well, from Sherman, I went to get my associate's degree at Jamestown Community College. Got my associate's in math and science, and then I transferred down here to SUNY Fredonia.
Excellent. So you took classes in Jamestown, right on the Jamestown campus?
Yeah, I lived on campus as well to make it easier to get there, obviously, since driving is a slight problem for me.
And then Fredonia, so you've gone both ends of the campus. And has CBA been with you throughout that college journey?
Yep, right through the whole thing. So since I lived on campus at JCC, I needed help, learning how to get from my dorm to all the different classes and the professors' offices and the services that were located on campus. And so my counselor and I started working early on in my senior year to teach me to be able to walk around campus on my own, find all the classes that I would need to find. We'd work through my schedule, so I knew I had to go from this class to that class and the route I would have to take. So we worked on that starting almost a year ahead of time. And also the vision rehabilitation services. I mean, when you're in a dorm room, you've got a stove you've never used before, and you got, stuff that that's brand new to you. So, it's something as simple as labeling a stove so that you know what temperatures the oven is being set at, which to somebody else is just a minor thing. I mean, to us, that can be a huge a huge thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had all those services when I was at JCC, and that was my first real experience with CBA, and it was truly remarkable, and it allowed me to be totally independent on campus.
Excellent. And so then you moved on to Fredonia. Did you live on campus at Fredonia, or did you live off campus when you were down here?
My first year I lived on campus, and then my second year, when I was a senior, I lived across from campus and in an apartment. So
you've had the whole college experience, dorm life and
Yep.
college apartment life. You've seen
did.
it all.
I have. And I got to say that, and I had the same services at Fredonia, but obviously it's on a much larger scale because, I mean, it's still not a huge school, but compared to JCC, it was definitely a step up. And I would say that my counselor can attest to this. We spent a lot of time working there. It was quite an experience. But, I mean, I was ready. I got to my classes the first day and had no problems. And well, I can't say I had no problems, but I got to my classes. Let's just say that. And she was with me right through. Like I said, we worked through the whole summer, often multiple times a week, ahead of time leading up to that. Rain and shine, all
Yeah.
weather, making sure that I could walk from my dorm to the different classes that I had. And, you know, it's scary. I mean, I'd never really been on the Fredonia campus before. So you go from never having been there to somebody who can't see where they're going. You drop them in the middle of campus, and
It's a big place.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little scary when you don't know what's going on around you. So she worked with me to make sure that I was ready, and by the time I got out of there as a senior, I would say I knew basically the entire campus. I could go anywhere you needed me to go on campus at that
It's
point.
amazing.
Huh. I mean, and I think about, like you said, Fredonia it's a big school.
Yeah.
And it's not the most pedestrian friendly school.
It's really
either.
not.
It was designed that way, but I know that they talk about that. And
Yeah.
it's, figuring the stairs and some of the different designs elements that they
Yeah,
put
and
into
some
that
of the
school.
stairs are circular, and some of the stairs are wide, and it's like this is a challenge. And then you throw in some of the traffic situations. I mean, my second year I lived across Brigham Road, so I had to walk, out across there. And
Not the most pedestrian
not
friendly
again, not the most
road in the
pedestrian
city.
friendly, and I'm sure that gave my counselor some minor heart attacks, but we made it. I'm still here.
Excellent. So, I mean, what was your major at Fredonia? What did you take?
I started out as a communication major, and then I switched to philosophy. So my actual degree is in philosophy with a minor in religious studies.
Ah, very, very diverse. Got a couple different majors you've worked on there.
Yep, I've been all over the map.
And when did you graduate?
Just this past May, so May of 2018.
So you're pretty fresh Fredonia graduate. And what are you doing now?
Well, now I live in Mayville and still work with CBA. I moved to Mayville right after I graduated from Fredonia. And again, it's a total new place. It was my first non-college apartment, living totally on my
You're
own.
on your own now?
Yep. And so I wanted to learn my way around Mayville. And I'm an avid walker. I love to walk long distances. It's fun for me. And so my counselor spent many hot and grueling days in the summertime out walking around the hills of Mayville and teaching me the way around. And I got to say, I have basically the whole town mapped now, and I regularly go for 4, 6, 8 mile walks a lot of times. And I got to tell you, the first time I was able to do that, the first morning I was able to go out for a long walk, I remember it, and just remembering the freedom that I felt being able to do this all on my own in a new place was truly remarkable. And that's totally a credit to CBA, because I know I wouldn't be able to do that without the services that they provided for me.
That's so cool.
But
He's an amazing individual, I'm telling you. Yeah, just to go out by himself and do a 6-mile walk
Yeah.
with no vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
But that was a lot of the reason I wanted to stay in this area. My parents actually live in North Carolina now. They moved since I was in college. But I knew that the services of CBA, I had such close connections with the folks there, and with Lisa and my counselor and everyone else, that I felt so comfortable with the services that I had here that for the time being I wanted to stay in this county just so I could make sure that I could receive those services still, because it's not, you don't know how good it might be elsewhere or not. So
Yeah. So CBA has helped lead to a brain gain in Chautauqua County. We've
We
been able to
have.
retain a bright young man in our area.
We have, and he's right now starting his first job.
I did, and that's actually my counselor recommended it to me, and so I applied. And it's ironic that you mentioned 211 at the beginning, because that's what my job is with. I'm a call taker for 211 in Western New York, and just got hired about a month ago. So I'll be answering phones if you call for that tax prep, you might get me on the phone.
Might have to bring you to our office because we're getting at least 12 calls a day.
I'm sure you do.
And we're sending
Yeah.
your way when that call comes in.
Yep,
So.
yep, that's us. So if any of the viewers call 211, you might be talking to me. So
that, get familiar with the voice.
yep,
Yeah.
that's
So.
That deep voice.
that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they my counselor saw the job posting and she thought it would be perfect for me, and so far I've really enjoyed my experience with that. So.
Yeah, and 211, I believe they can have you work remotely, correct?
That's
you're able to work probably right out of your apartment.
Yep, I can. I'm going up to Buffalo every week now for training, but once that's done, I'll be able to work remotely from home, and it's gonna be perfect. I think.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's a great first job, and I don't know. I have a lot of varied interests, as you can tell, so there's a lot of possibilities for the future, and I'm not sure what exactly that will hold yet, but there's a lot of potential, and this is a good first step for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. It sounds like this was just a great, Nick, your upbeat attitude and your commitment to being successful certainly is a big part of why you've gotten to where you are, but CBA has been there to support you and help you out along the way. So,
Absolutely.
That's just fantastic.
Like I said, I wouldn't have been able to have the experience I had in college without it, or the experience since college without it. It's all courtesy to you guys.
Oh, well.
I can only do what I can do getting places and using the equipment that I have. So without those things, I wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that I do. So it's all thanks to CBA, and they've made it possible for me to live independently on my own and get a job and live basically as normal of a life as possible.
Yeah, we could take that little bit right there, and that's CBA's new commercial. They can
That's
just
it right
run
there.
with that from now on.
He is the face of CBA. Yeah. It's
I don't
been
know if
our
that's a good
honor.
idea, but
It's been our honor to work with Nick, and he's got such an upbeat attitude and willing to try anything.
Yeah.
And if you're successful, that's great. If you make a little fault and you do something wrong, and he just gets himself right back up and goes on. And
Yeah.
he's taught us as much as we've taught him. Yeah, so it's just been a real pleasure.
That's great. Lisa, 98 years of service from Chautauqua Blind. You've been at it a very long time.
Yes.
What's a little bit of the history of CBA? How did it come to be, if you know that? Hopefully that's been documented and
There's all kinds of history that we find in the files. And they started off much bigger than we are now, and they were actually providing services into Allegheny County and different counties. And then as we tried to perfect what we did, we brought it back home. So we don't go quite that far out anymore. And our staff got smaller, and now we're just a smaller staff doing a lot of services to the people here in Chautauqua County and Cat County. We do provide services in Cattaraugus County also. So we do travel that far, but we don't go much farther than that. And we've changed names a couple times to what we've done, but it's always been a focus on helping people with vision loss. So that has never changed. We've always had the same focus, the same purpose, and the same mission.
And when we look at dollars and cents for any not-for-profit, that's always a consideration.
Always.
And United Way is a funder for Chautauqua Blind. It's one of the important services that we come behind. But also, you guys do some really unique fundraisers as well. Can you talk a little bit about, I think, first and foremost, Dining in the Dark? And I know that's not your only fundraiser, but I know that's an important one for you, and it's coming up.
It is coming up. And, Dining in the Dark, we're into our 9th year. And when we do it, I enjoyed looking back to the first year we did it. And we had a client that we worked with back then, and she was 100. Probably 98 when we started to do Dining in the Dark. And we told her we were going to do this, and she said to me, "That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard."
Pretty honest at that age,
She was
right?
very honest. She really did say that.
you got to appreciate that.
You have to appreciate that. So I said, we're going to do it once, and if it doesn't work, then you can come back and tell me I told you so. So we did it, and it was outrageously successful, and she came to that event, and she came to 3 or 4 events after that. So we've been doing it for 9 years now.
Wow.
And it is a fundraiser for us, but I think along with that, it's an awareness event for people in the community. So we do bring people to a local restaurant, and we blindfold you. And different places do it different ways. Some people let you get into the table, into the restaurant, and sit down and then put your blindfold on. We really want people to get the whole experience. So we blindfold you outside of the dining room and guide you in to the dining room and seat you there. Nick's been. Nick does better at eating than the rest of us do because he's kind of used to it. But
I have a slight advantage.
It's a perfected
little
art,
advantage, yes. So it is an interesting event, and it is coming up on April 12th this year, and we will be doing it at the new Chautauqua Harbor Hotel in Celeron. So it's a fun event. It's a different event. It is. Some people find it very fun. Some people find it very challenging, but it does give people a different perspective on life in general and eating.
It's definitely more than a fundraiser, because I've brought quite a few friends and family over the years, and I think almost everyone who's left has said, wow, I didn't realize that, you know, what you had to do just to eat a meal.
Yep.
You know, it really just raises awareness for people about what it's like to be in a blind person's shoes. And, you know, it's something that I think a lot of blind people wish that others could experience, not because we wish that anybody goes blind, obviously, but just because it's kind of helpful to have somebody be in your shoes for a little bit, you know. And this event really allows you to do that without causing any harm to people. That came out more morbid than I hoped.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the thing that I find most interesting about this is that, yes, it's a fundraiser, but at the same time, it does a tremendous job at raising awareness and maybe providing some empathy. Just to people that go through that experience. I mean, I have not gone yet, but the people I know that have been have always walked away saying it's eye-opening.
Not to mention it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that I always hear as well.
Yeah, for somebody who can do it very well without having to worry about it. Yeah, it is an interesting event, and people do walk away, I think, with a much better appreciation. I think for quite a few of us, a large percentage of us will end up knowing someone or have someone in our life as we get older that loses their vision. You know, whether it's a macular or cataracts or whatever it might be, but this definitely gives you a much better appreciation for what can happen. So, and just to let people know that life can go on. You don't have to stop doing anything you want to do. I mean, look at Nick. He's done everything he's ever wanted to do. And you can live a full, involved, challenged life. It doesn't have to stop. And so we want people to learn that at the end of Dining in the Dark also.
Great. And for tickets, do they call your office? Is there a website?
They do. They can get on our website at, it's just www.chautauquablind.org, or they can call our office at 664-6660. Tickets are $60. And you get your choice. There are 3 different choices, you know, a beef, a chicken, and a vegetarian dish. So you'll get your choice. You do get to know what you're eating. You won't get to see it, but you will know what you're eating. So yeah, and tickets will be on sale probably by Friday. We're trying to work out the menu with the Harbor Hotel.
Gotcha.
But tickets will be probably on sale by Friday. And yeah, we encourage everybody to come. I mean, the Harbor Hotel is a beautiful new facility here in Chautauqua County, and Dining in the Dark is something everybody should do at least once.
Interesting. And that website and the phone number you gave us, can you give them out one more time?
I can. It's www.chautauquablind.org or 664-6660.
And those would also probably be the numbers to call if anybody has any questions about services or looking to reach out. That is the best way to contact the Chautauqua Blind.
Definitely.
Lisa, Nick, thank you so much for joining me today. This was an absolute delight to talk with both of you. And I think helpful for some folks that live around here and may need some of these services, or just to be more aware of what's available out there.
Absolutely.
So, Lisa, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I don't. I mean, we're definitely there to help anybody, whether you've already lost your vision or you just think you're losing your vision. Once again, if you're not legally blind for us to come out, we do have a technology room in the office that has all the latest technology that you can ever want or ever need. So feel free to call us and come in and meet with one of our therapists, or just call for more information. We're there to help.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We've appreciated this time to sit and talk a little bit about Chautauqua Blind, and we look forward to seeing you again next month with another community helper. Thank you so much.